Hey YouTube, how's it going? Felix here. This is our 2019 Alpine A110 Legend in Alpine Blue, and all over YouTube you'll find loads and loads of good reviews for the Alpine A110. The reviewers love it. It's a fantastic driver's car, super lightweight, and in my opinion much cooler and much rarer than some of its competitors like the Porsche Cayman. But many reviewers will tell you how good it is, but few people are going to tell you what it's actually like to live with and some of the annoying things about the car. So I've made a list here, and I'm going to show you in this video 10 annoying things about the Alpine A110. Okay, let's go. So I've just started the car for you and I'm going to jump in. Wow. The car is quite low, but that's not annoying, that's cool. Okay, so I think the single most annoying thing about the Alpine A110 is the infotainment screen here, the infotainment system. So this system is really bad. I am being nice, it is genuinely just pretty poor if you ask me. It has no Android Auto, no Apple CarPlay. It has a companion app called My Spin, which you can have a look on the Android App Store or the iOS App Store, and you can see it's got terrible reviews. It barely works. This is just an extremely poor user experience and just a really difficult to use infotainment system. Very basic and very limited. There's no option from the factory to put Android Auto or Apple CarPlay in this car, and that to me is a real shame. I wish they would make a system or some sort of option they'd offer it to be able to upgrade this to something with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's a bit of a must, to be honest, in this day and age. The car also has some media controls here, which are down by the steering wheel. You can do things like change the volume and cycle through tracks. Obviously it does have Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth your phone to it, which is okay. So it's not a complete loss, but it's just a lack of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And to be honest, the overall user experience on here is just really clunky. The layouts, the menus, it's just really confusing. It's just not very good at all. So what you're probably going to end up doing is you're going to end up attaching your mobile phone somewhere and using your mobile phone for Google Maps and or Waze or your navigation. It's a little bit tricky in this car because there's no real flat surface anywhere. There's nowhere nice to mount your phone, especially down here. So yeah, you might end up sort of maybe using this little quarter light here, this little piece of glass, to maybe stick a sort of suction mount on here and having your phone floating here. But yeah, it's not great, and that is, in my opinion, the most annoying thing about the Alpine A110. Okay, next up, it's the fact that the Alpine A110 requires constant trickle charging, otherwise the battery will run out of charge. So the battery on the A110 is under here, under this plastic panel here, under the cowling there, and this is the sort of wire that we've got connected to our trickle charger, which is actually plugged in there on the wall. Every time we park the car here, we plug it in and keep the battery topped up. If you don't drive the car very much, the battery will get depleted, and what will actually happen is an error message will come up on the car, and that is what I'm going to show you now. So we haven't driven this car. We actually took it to the paint shop a while ago, and while it was at the paint shop, the car wasn't plugged in, and the battery voltage got low and has caused this error to pop up on the car. So let me show you. This is actually one of the most annoying things about the Alpine. So if I jump in, here you can see, I'm actually going to start the car. Ready? Just put the key here in the middle, press the lovely red starter button, and watch the central binnacle. Can you see that? Braking system fault? This fault here? Yeah, super annoying, right? The beeping stops in a few seconds, thank God. But this is a known fault with the Alpine A110. If you let the battery voltage get too low, if you don't plug the car in on your trickle charger and you let the battery voltage get too low, this braking system fault message comes up and you cannot clear it. You can't get rid of it. There's actually no problem with the braking system in the car. It's like a factory error. Basically, that one of the ECU's voltage will go too low, and that will cause this error message to come up. And you've got to take the car back to the dealer to get them to clear the code and remove that message. It's super annoying. Even if you get to the OBD port, which is the sort of a diagnostic port, which is behind this plastic panel here, even if you manage to get to that yourself, you can't clear the codes and you can't remove this message yourself. So yeah, super annoying. One thing the Alpine A110 always requires is to be plugged in to your trickle charger. Okay, the next annoying thing about the Alpine is the extremely limited interior storage. So let me jump in here. I would almost has to guess that you cannot buy another car, a brand new car today, which has less interior storage than the Alpine A110. So As you can see here on the door, there's no door pockets, nowhere to put anything here. There's no glove box, so there's nowhere to put anything here at all. There's this tiny slot here which you can use for your mobile phone or for the key. And then back here, we've got very, very limited storage as well. So we've got this sort of little tiny cup holder here. We actually use a sort of ashtray thing it comes with to put some cables in. But this cup holder is tiny and very, very shallow. So if you put any sort of drink in there, it's just going to fall over straight away. You've got this tiny area here, which you could potentially put maybe, I don't know, your keys, as well as your 12-volt socket. And then there's also this very, very small area under here as well, where you can maybe put, where you've got some sunglasses and some of your cables if you're charging your phone. But other than that, there really is nothing in here. So if you want to, put a drink somewhere, you've got some water or some food, it just has to go in the footwell on the floor, and that's pretty annoying. There is an option on the Alpine to add this special storage area here in the back. It's sort of on this between the seats here. You can add this special storage sort of bucket thing, which is an option which you can add on the car. But the problem is our car didn't come with that, and you can't retrofit it because you have to drill through the carpet here into the bulkhead. You have to drill through into the engine bay to have that mounted, which is pretty annoying, because we'd definitely have that if we could. This is the car's manual, by the way. It's actually just got some Velcro backing on it, and you can Velcro it to the back of these to the back of the carpet here. There's no space behind the seats really, maybe just a tiny amount of space. But yeah, so that's it. I mean, in terms of interior storage, the Alpine is incredibly limited. Of course, it's not why you buy this car, but if you're going on a long road trip, it can be a bit annoying. Okay, next up is the extremely limited storage in the Alpine A110 in terms of luggage space. So I get it, you're not going to buy this car for taking your groceries or you doing any sort of big trips, but it is nice to have enough space in the car to be able to go on a certain length of trip, maybe like a week-long holiday, something like that. But in the Alpine, you're really going to struggle. The front trunk here, at the front, is not very deep. It's probably only about as deep as my hand. So you might be able to fit maybe 1 or 2 small soft bags in here, but not very much at all. And if we have a look in the back, so in the rear trunk here, the space is equally really, really limited. So I'm not sure if you can see, we've got sort of some oil in here, but if I'm just back here, just past the back of the oil, that is the back of this area here. So really in this space, you're talking maybe 2 small rucksacks at most. And that really is really quite a small amount of storage. It's not that much more than you might get on maybe like a big touring motorbike or something like that. So yeah, that's the annoying thing about the Alpine A110. Not very much storage. And yeah, if you're going to go on big trips, probably not the right car. Okay, so the next annoying thing is the sports exhaust system. So this car has a factory option, which is the sports exhaust, which sounds really, really great. Unlike something like a Porsche Cayman, there's no way for you to just turn on the exhaust with a button. The only way you can make the exhaust louder is by pressing the sport button here. And that's cool. When you press the sport button, the digital dials change. They become a bit more sporty, and it changes the sort of throttle map and will raise the idle. It does a lot of stuff, and it's all really, really cool. But one thing that annoys me is the fact that when you press the sport button, it makes the exhaust louder, which is great, but it also adds this sort of pops and bangs map, which is where it will do something with the ignition timing on the car. It will end up spitting loads of fuel into the exhaust, and it makes all these sort of pops and crackles and bangs. And I get it, some people like that. I think it's cool for a bit, and it's interesting and it's a bit fun. But personally, I would just quite like the option to be able to make the exhaust louder without making the car, pop and crackle and bang and all that stuff. What I would really like is just another button like this sport button here, just to say exhaust on, turn on exhaust. Don't mess with any of the other stuff. Just make the exhaust nice and loud, because sometimes that's what you want, and you don't want to do all this, sportiness and change all the dials and stuff like that. So yeah, the lack of any sort of exhaust control, bit annoying if you ask me. I don't just want to have it mapped onto the sport button, which comes with loads of other stuff. Okay, the next annoying thing about the Alpine is the fact that it has really quite bad weather sealing. So you may have noticed on my previous Alpine video, which was the tour, I'll put a link to it here in the pop-up banner, so you can go watch that if you haven't already. But you may have noticed that the windscreen was pretty steamed up on that video. There's lots and lots of condensation on the inside of the windscreen. And that happens a lot with the Alpine when it's cold outside. The weather sealing is not very good, and it causes the car to become full of condensation, which is a bit annoying. There's actually already been been a recall on the Alpine where they replaced the seal in the rear screen here, so that the seal on this one has actually already been replaced by the dealer for free, which is nice, but they haven't done the front windscreen, and I think it may be something that they get on and do at some point as well. They may change the seals in here to make it a bit more weather tight and stop it sort of condensing and steaming up so much. It's a bit annoying. It's not the end of the world. Obviously you can just use the heater and the air conditioning to get rid of that condensation, but it can be a bit annoying on a cold winter's day when you want to drive your Alpine. Okay, so the next thing which I find a bit annoying about the Alpine A110 is the general quality of the interior. So I might just jump in here again. So one thing in the interior which I absolutely love and I think is fantastic are these seats. These are Seatbelt seats. They're made by an Italian company called Seatbelt. They are fantastic. These are the touring seats. They also do bucket seats as well, and they are just brilliant. Super comfortable, super supportive, proper sport seats. These are brilliant, and in my opinion probably better than any of the seats you can get from competitors like Porsche or some people like that. But in terms of the rest of the interior, I think Alpine, they've got a difficult job because they're trying to make the car super lightweight, and to make cars lightweight you probably have to use a lot of plastic. They also haven't got the biggest budget, so they're trying to reduce cost. It's a tricky job, a tricky sort of balancing act they're trying to do, but it has ended up with there being quite a lot of rather nasty plastic, I would say, in the cabin. So stuff like this, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it's not the best plastic in the world if you ask me. Obviously most of the bits which you touch they've made an effort to make nice. So for example, the door handles feel nice, this bit where you rest your elbow feels nice, the steering wheel feels really, really nice, that's lovely leather, and the seats, as I've said, are absolutely gorgeous. But then sort of around the cabin I'd say there are some slightly questionable pieces of plastic, like this one, these around here by these switches. This is just lifted off a Renault Clio, this media control things. Again, not the nicest quality. I know it's okay, it's not the best, not the worst. The indicator stalks are sort of only okay, I would say. And the paddles, that is one thing you touch quite often, and they do feel a little bit cheap. They are, they're plastic and sort of painted to look like metal, but they definitely are plastic. Center console is okay, I'd say, not the most expensive feeling at all, like this sort of fake carbon fiber here. I'm not sure you can see that, but it's okay. But the interior quality of the Alpine is definitely a little bit questionable compared to some of the very, very luxurious rivals like the Porsche Cayman. Okay, so say you want to access the engine on your Alpine A110. Obviously the car is mid-engine, so the engine is right there. Well, how do you get to it? I mean, in quite a lot of other cars, maybe there'd be a lever or something like that on the interior, and this glass piece would pop up and you'd have nice access to the engine. Not the case on the A110. What you've got to do is you've got to open the boot here, and then if you can see them, I'll try and show you. Back here, there are a series of knobs which you get to turn. They're sort of here. I'll see if I can show you that. If I zoom this up, can you see them? There's a series of knobs on the inside. You've got to remove 3 of these knobs by hand, and then once you've removed those knobs, you've got to sort of unscrew them all the way. You'll then have the ability to pop up this glass piece here. You can open that up and it's got a little stand which you can stand up with, and then you've got to remove this interior piece using a little sort of like a coin to undo this, and then you finally have some access to the engine. So if you actually want to do any work on the car, like maybe change your own oil or do anything like that, a bit tricky if you ask me, and a bit of a faff. Definitely not as easy as some other mid-engine cars which just have a nice glass tailgate or sort of lift gate which opens up and gives you full access. So that's a bit annoying if you fancy doing some work on your car. Okay, the next annoying thing is the cruise control on the Alpine A110. So I honestly do not know what the person who was designing the cruise control in this car was thinking, to be honest. So you've got these buttons here on the steering wheel, plus, minus. That's not a button, that doesn't do anything, that's just plastic. Plus and minus here, and you've also got the resume and the 0 buttons for the cruise control. That makes sense to me. It's great there on the steering wheel, nice and within access. But then to actually turn on the cruise control, you have to use this button all the way down here. So it's these buttons here, that's the speed limiter, and that's the cruise control here. Or maybe it's the other way around, I can't remember. But why are they here? Why are they here down by the engine start and the parking brake, so dangerously close to these buttons? I have absolutely no idea, to be honest. Why can't they be on the steering wheel with all the other cruise control functions? Why aren't they maybe on a separate stalk like on some sort of Toyota Lexus cars? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's really, really confusing. And it's also quite awkward because you've got to, you're driving the car like this, and then you've got to sort of reach down, try and fumble around here to find these buttons so you can turn the stuff on. I just think it's a complete crazy placement. If you know why they've put them here and you have any ideas, please let me know, because I will stand corrected if you can think of a good reason. But I just find it pretty crazy. Okay, to wrap up the video, I'm going to do 3 little annoying things in one. I know that's cheating a bit, but whatever. On the boot here, the sort of guttering system, which allows water to come down here and sort of find its way back to the back of the car. And the design means that this area here sort of gets full of crap under this seal. And it's really, really difficult to remove, like in there, for example. It's a bit dirty and a bit ugly. And it's really hard to remove. And it's just a bit annoying because it always just fills up again very quickly. That's slightly annoying, not a deal breaker at all. Again, another slightly annoying thing is the fact they've clearly put sort of quite cheap wheel bolts on here, which have rusted up really quickly. They don't look great. I wish they put some sort of nicer, higher quality, properly galvanized bolts on there, which didn't rust. They'd look a bit nicer over time. Again, not a deal breaker, but just a bit annoying. And the final thing I find are the side mirrors here on the Alpine. They're angled down slightly, which gives it a really cool sporty look. But it means that the view you get from the side mirrors is not actually that great. It's just a little bit, you can adjust them of course and make them good for you, but I find that because they're angled down slightly, you never get a perfect view out of the side mirrors, which is a little bit annoying. But of course, they look great, so it's no big deal really. Anyway, that's 3. Okay, so that wraps up my 10 annoying things about the Alpine A110. Don't get me wrong with this video. If you're looking for one of these cars, you're in the market, you can afford it, I would definitely recommend you go test drive one, especially if you're test driving similar cars like a Porsche Cayman. Give it a chance. I think all the things I covered in this video are, moderately minor, and you can definitely look over those once you've driven this car and you've seen how good it is to drive. So give it a test drive, and I think you'll be very pleased. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content like this. I'm always doing videos on various car bits and the Alpine A110. So catch you soon. Cheers.